Hey everybody, and welcome to the unboxing video of the Questeros Prototype. This is Prototype version 2. The first one I showed a while back, and that was just made from a print-on-demand service. This one is made from an actual manufacturer. So the company that's going to manufacture this game was able to produce some early prototypes for me to send out to reviewers and for me to do some videos of myself. So let's unravel this box. To start off with, the box is got a multi-shelf purpose. So you can see here we start with the Jester or Eero the Goblin up top. But if you want, you could have it on your shelf with the Demon up top. In addition, you could just have the Queen of Staves, or you could have the King of Swords facing out, or you could have the King of Cups, or you could have just the Questeros Fortress, kind of back of the card logo. And then of course there's the back of the box. And there's the artist who's done all of this fantastic art, John DeCampos, and a little picture of me. It is a magnetic flip lid box, so it folds nicely, and if you look underneath you can see the Queen of Orbs. She's a dark elf. Some nice skeletal tattoos there. So I like how that all works. We've got every suit represented on the side of the box with one of the rogue classes sneakily hiding under the lid, so that's intentional. Haven't decided if I want to put anything here yet, so still to be determined. Moving on, we have the initiative token. So the initiative token is fairly long. You can see there, the size of my hand, fits nicely. So the initiative token is given to a player when they win the quest or the trick for the round. So it's just a double-sided goblin token, same picture on both sides. Image is subject to change because I know John loves doing this character and may have a token-specific artwork, but as it is now, I think it looks pretty sharp. And you can see the stave and the cup and the sword. You just can't see the orb that he holds beneath. But that is the initiative token. Very sturdy, sturdier than cardboard. Slide it around the table nicely, give it a nice flip, whatever you want to do. Then we will move on to the next components. Now in this prototype I did include a couple of full art cards of some of the images I like the most. So we've got the Warlock and the Demon, the cover art itself, the Deck of Fate, the Necromancer, the Dragon, the Queen of Orbs, the Death Knight. So those are just some extras. I had some card spaces to fill, and there's a good chance that these 4 cards that are kind of placeholder right now would become permanent cards that'll become part of the game. I'm still playing around with that idea right now. 2 of them may be solitaire specific cards and 2 of them may be for the main game. But beyond that, we have some more. So these are the early concept quest card. So basically it's a player aid for each player. There's 6 cards, 1 for each player. They're all the same, double-sided, and they basically state what each of the quest cards does. And again, early prototype, some of these names or titles of cards could change, but the concept of the game itself is pretty stable. So those are player aid cards, and then there are 2 double-sided cards that are used to represent the encounters. These are for the solo game, so this is for Eero's quest, and so it gives a description of what you have to do to face each of his encounters. So that is all of the non-playing cards. I'll set those to the side. Then we have the rule book. So the rule book, on one side we've got Eero the Goblin and the Demon. On the other side we've got just the Questeros card back, just for that image. And a fairly thick book, but there's a lot of different things in here, so the whole book isn't just for the Questeros game itself, because if you followed along you'd know that Questeros is a multi-purpose deck. So you can see here it is a 78 card tarot deck, it's a 2 to 6 player card game, it's a solitaire game, and it can be a fate deck for RPGs. And all of that is described here in this rule book. And here we go through the components, multiplayer overview. Then we've got a few pages of the multiplayer rules, and it gives some in-game examples as well. So once we get past the general notes, then there's examples of how a round of play might work and how points could be scored. So that takes us all the way up to page 12. Then we go into Eero's Quest. So Eero's Quest is a solo game, and it's got a whole set of rules of its own, which is completely independent of the multiplayer game. It's a whole different rule set that's been play tested in a whole different format. And again, there are some parts of it that are evolving, but the core gameplay will remain the same. I'll just be tweaking some of the startup cards or minor effects of the cards, but the concept is that you will have Eero and you will build him up with magic, with swords or blades, with keep his health and earn orbs, all to go through the encounter deck is the core concept of the game. So that goes through with all that gameplay. The encounters, combat, that's all solo information. And then we talk a little bit about what a tarot deck is and how they're used. I don't describe every card in here. I barely describe any, to be honest. But I will have an online resource that this will link to. And on the back, there will be a QR code that'll take you to the website that'll give you a meaning or description of every single card in this deck. But here is just an overview of what tarot is and where it was derived from. And then we'll talk briefly about the Fate deck and how that can be used. And the Fate deck is kind of an open concept. Give you some examples of how it could be used, but really it's up to a dungeon master or game master to decide how they want to play with it in their game if they choose to. Here's some examples sharing what the quest card meanings are, and some room to add a few more. So right now it's a 40-page rulebook, fits nicely in here. Could be larger if I need it to be, if I wanted to add more tarot description or more Fate description, but otherwise it's in a near ready to go state. So that is the rulebook, and it's very solid quality paper. I mean, this is I'd be happy to get this rulebook in a game if I bought it. So it's really nice to see this prototype version so solid. Next up, we have the score pad. So the score pad is 100 sheets, gives you plenty of game to play, and score pad has room for 6 players. And for each player, there's 7 rounds of play. So if you're playing with 6 players, each sheet would be a full game. If you're playing with 2 players, you could use 1 sheet for 3 games, etc. Easy to reproduce if you ever ran out, but gives you lots to play with. If you played the game this many times, I'd be quite impressed. All right, so that is that. Some people may ask, am I going to include a pencil in the box? Probably. I think it's a fairly cheap component. Might cost 1 or 2 cents per game box, so I think that's worth adding into the final version. But this version did not come with a pencil because I didn't request one. There you can see the inside of the box. Again, the magnet lid there. Folds nicely shut. And then we have the deck itself. So the Questeros deck, back of the deck, you might have noticed from the front, but it is an ambigram. So it says Questeros there. Flip it over, it says Questeros there. Getting a little bit of different opinions of whether people like it or not. It's a design that myself and the artist both agreed upon. We wanted something different, something that would stand out. And even if it's not clearly legible to someone who doesn't know the name of the game, that's part of the fun, is really being a little bit different, being a little bit daring, and enjoying what this deck has to offer. Now, Questeros is a tarot deck, so you will see common names like Page, Knight, Queen, King, and then all of the quest cards have names, and they don't have names that completely match up to tarot, but in the rulebook there will be a comparison, so it'll say what the Page of Blades is or what the Death Knight is. Some of the artwork is still early, so anything from 1 to 10, we're still working on individual art pieces for the cards. So for now, 1 to 10 in each suit is placeholder art or icons, iconography, so that the game is still fully playable in both the solitaire and the multiplayer mode, but using it as a tarot deck has a bit more limitations because usually you rely on the images to help understand the card meanings. So those are going to evolve before this comes to production, and the support that we get on Kickstarter and in funding this game will help compensate for that. But then each suit also has what we call the court cards. Court cards are traditionally the page, page, knight, king, and queen of each suit. And so what we've done with those is made sure that there's kind of like a theme to them all. So the blades are all warriors, knights, leaders of the realm that were in here. And then we'd move on to the cup suit. So again, 1 to 10 is just icons. And then we have monks. So we've got the page of cups, the knight of cups, the queen of cups, and of course the king of cups you saw in the box. After that, we have the orbs. 1 through 10 are just icons right now. Then we have the page, the knight, the queen, and the king, and they're all dark elf rogues, so representing kind of a darker society. And then we have the staves. So 1 through 10 are all icons right now, and then we have some druids. So you might think staves are wizards, and there will be wizards in the 1 to 10, but really it's the druids we're rooting for. There you can see that all the background is burnt forest, and they're here to try to bring it back to life, to recover. And they have a different mentality. They don't believe in a structural society of men having to be kings and women having to be queens. So you can see that represented. And there's even some other mechanics and ideas at work here. So that is all of the what we call the base class cards. There are 56 of those. And then there are 22 of the quest cards. Again, that name may change, but they're basically the major arcana in a standard tarot deck. And it always starts with the Fool or the Jester, the Warlock, which is the, I'm trying to remember the name now, the Magician. We have the Mentor, which is the Priestess, the Centaur, which is the Empress, the King, which is the Dwarf King, the Hierophant, the Succubus, which is the Lovers card, the Paladin, which is not Strength, maybe it's Strength. We have the Valkyrie, which is Justice. We have the Druid, which is the Hermit, the Deck of Fate, which is the Wheel of Fortune, the Ranger, which is, well, maybe that one was Strength, the Assassin, which is the Hanged Man, the Death Knight, which is Death, the Fairies, which is, can't recall the name of that one offhand, the Demon, which is the Devil, the Order of the Magi, which is the Tower, the Order of the Knights, which is the Sun, Order of the Shadows, which is the Moon, the Order of the Monks, sorry, that one's the Sun, so the Knights would have been the stars, and the Bard, which is the Angel, and the Dragon, which is the World, if you're comparing all those to the major arcana. So all the artwork with that is fully fleshed out by John DeCampos. He did a wonderful job reiterating some of the sketches and concepts I sent his way, and referring back to the Rider-Waite Tarot deck that this whole game/deck was loosely based upon. So there you have it. That is a full deck of Questeros. I've got 10 of these produced. One will be going out to the artist to thank him for all the work he's done so far. 8 of them will be going out to various reviewers and previewers to help us lead up to the Kickstarter sometime next year. And during the time between shipping those and then playing them and creating content and me continuing to play test and develop, that still gives John plenty of time to work on the art for the 1 to 10 suits. For all the individual art there. So we're going to see more rogues, we're going to see more fighters, we're going to see more wizards and druids, and have lots of fun putting together the rest of this deck. So thanks for staying tuned and watching the unboxing of Questeros. It all packs away nicely. Whether it would fit in the box sleeved, there's a possibility of that. If you put it in the box sleeved, though, you probably would not fit the thick score pad. So there are pros and cons, but we wanted to keep the size of the box semi-limited. Put it back in there, finish with Eero on top, close it shut, and say, wow, I absolutely love this prototype. The cards are good stock. The box is really nice. The token is exactly what I wanted, and the game is ready to roll. Take care. Thanks for watching. Feel free to leave some comments. Let me know what you think.